Good morning. Good morning. Very grateful to be here this morning. I woke up again. I wake up every morning without an alarm clock anyway, but today, I only do these videos when I'm led to do them. And so today, as soon as I opened my eyes, I was told to get up and do a video. Um, this is going to be a very different type of video. You're going to probably be very shocked on a lot of levels by the time I'm done. So I would strongly encourage you to stick around to see what it is that I have to say. I don't talk really fast, I only just go with the flow, and sometimes I could be long winded, but this is not scripted. I didn't know that I was going to do this video today. There's a lot of things in here that I have to share with you. I absolutely have to share with you because this is our only form of communication right now, and I'm more so a person that likes to deal with people person to person. You know, I'm from the old school and I believe that the human touch is everything, but so videos are a little uncomfortable for me. I don't know if you picked that up or not. Anyway, this ain't about me. This is about purpose. And when my source urges me to do something, that is exactly what I do. And so stick around with me. I think you're going to be very interested in the things that I have to tell you. And again, this is not scripted. I woke up and told to get up and do this and to grab certain things and to walk you all through some information about this path that we've been on, because what I didn't realize, and I apologize to you right now for this, but I've been out here on this side of the fence for quite some time. Like I said in my last video, I got unplugged from the system in 2009, and I'm going to explain to you what that means as well as the other things that I hinted about, because everybody doesn't know what I know. And a lot of times when I'm talking, the messages may get missed because I'm talking from my level of consciousness versus breaking it down to basics. And I try to come down to basics as much as possible. But when I go back and I review my videos, a lot of times I'm like, okay, if I was just coming into this, would I understand what I'm talking about? Probably not. So today, we're going to go through some things. I'm going to help you to understand what it is that is going on in this matrix that pertains to you, that pertains to your children, that pertains to just the fabric of this whole reality and how we're in this situation and why it's so important for you to do the things that you need to do to protect yourself. People say all the time, God got me, and that's very true. God does have you. God does have you. The Most High does have us. But we have consciousness for a reason. We have consciousness because when we come into some information that is applicable to our journey, that's going to put us in a better position, then the wise thing to do is to apply that information to the best of our ability, walk in that information to the best of our ability, because it's just no different than locking the door. God got you, but I bet you lock your door at night. You lock your door because you don't want just any random walking into your house or to your apartment or wherever you lay your head. Some people have weapons. God got you, but you got that weapon. So God gave you some sense of consciousness about doing the things that's necessary with the tools that are available to make the adjustments that you need in your life. And so we're going to go over some things this morning, and I hope you give me just a little bit of your time. I promise it'll be worth it. Also want you to share this video with other people if you find that there is value in it and that you learn from it and I'm not here to debate with anybody. I'm going to say that too. I'm not here to argue with anybody. I'm not here to be popular. This message is for those that is meant for. So whoever gets it is supposed to get it. Whoever doesn't, doesn't. I'm planting the seed. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, when you know the truth shall make you free. So if you're not free, it's probably a big indication that you haven't been getting the truth. And so I'm going to give you some freedom today. I'm going to bring you some real deal freedom. Some of it you may not be able to handle. Again, I don't know what's going to come out my mouth. I'm just going to go with the flow and say what I'm supposed to say. But I need you first to have an open mind, lay your ego aside. Don't judge what I'm telling you. Receive it with an open mind. Receive it with an open eye. And then listen to this video as much as you need to. Everything that I say is verifiable. Some of it may be a little more difficult to find because of the depth that I may go to. But this comes from, me talking to you comes from many, many years on this path. Many, many years of research, many, many years of me unraveling this matrix, many, many years of me living a specific way. And I'm going to share that information with you so that right now, while we have some downtime, while everybody is still, while everybody is nervous, while everybody is afraid of the unknown, that you can get this information and you can make the adjustments that you need for yourself. All right? So first I want to start by saying that this reality, everything about it is voluntary. It's voluntary. Once you come into this reality, the things that you do, you volunteer to do. Because this is not a reality that is based on mandatory decisions. It's based on limited information, contracts, limited information about those contracts, different type of contracts, compelled performance contracts, which are contracts that compel you to perform and do certain things, silent contracts, which are the fine print or the unaddressed aspects of the different contracts that we are entered into. And then the regular contracts where you read it and, you know, you run it by your attorney or you read it and you have some sense of understanding. So we're dealing with contracts, okay? And the way that this is set up, we have soul contracts with one another. We had soul contracts before we came into this reality. And then when we got here, when we came through the birth canal, there's a similarity between BIRTH and BERTH. BERTH is when a ship berths at a dock. Ship on water, a vessel traveling berths on a dock. BIRTH is when a flesh and blood being comes through the birth canal and is birthed out of water onto dry land. So everything is dual here. Everything is dual. This is duality. And there's always a flip side to everything. So birth and birth are actually the same thing, but we don't know that it's the same because of that one letter that is replaced. We don't know that we are in a system that is built on admiralty and maritime law. Now, admiralty and maritime law is a system that governs vessels. Vessels. We're traveling in a vessel. They say the body is 75, 80% water. We're inside of water, inside of this vessel, and we're traveling through this reality in this vessel. And so when we have children, or when we were born, when we were birthed here, we came through a channel that was birthed before us. And those that were birthed before us were able to make decisions applicable to us that they didn't understand and we still don't understand. But those decisions were voluntary. They were not mandatory. They were not mandatory. Contracts. So when you have a baby, the baby is examined and there's a long form that is filled out by the nurse or the doctor that addresses if the baby is disabled, if everything is right with the child, if there's any abnormalities anywhere. Just this long form, very long, with all of these different boxes and information that must be filled out. And that must be filled out in order to obtain a birth certificate. Now that birth certificate has information on it. That long form has information on it. And what they do is they take a footprint and a thumbprint of that child. See that? This is the, mother's thumbprint, child's footprint. Why do they do this? They do that to prove that there is a live child, that there is an actual being attached that has been born into this reality. And so the very first birth certificate that we get is called a certificate of live birth, because it documents that a child has been born into this reality, and the footprint and the mother's thumbprint signify that this is true. So then that information is forwarded to the county or to the state. And at that point, the first part of a process begins where a birth certificate is created. Now, the interesting thing about this birth certificate is that it is on bank paper. So this is one of my clients' birth certificate, copy of it. But if you look at your birth certificate, it's on bank paper, has the ridges, bonded paper, bank paper. Why would a birth certificate be on bank paper if it's just a birth certificate? Okay. But on this birth certificate, you have different slots. You have the name of the child, you have the mother's name, father's name, hospital, date of birth, all of this different information. Up here, you have serial number, recording number. But if you look at your birth certificate and you go down to the box where one of your parents signed, it says parent or other informant. Informant. So when you think of an informant, immediately, I mean, if you think like I think, an informant is a snitch. An informant is someone who informs the government that this is actual and factual. And so you have right here, parent or other informant on your birth certificate, your bank paper birth certificate. So you have that footprint. Now, you notice the footprint ain't on here. The thumbprint ain't on here. What happened to that footprint and that thumbprint? It's no longer necessary because now this is one part of what's needed to create a security. Okay? That's why it's on bank paper. If it doesn't have any fiduciary value, it wouldn't be on bank paper. It wouldn't be on bank paper. Okay? So then you have the other part of that process, which is the Social Security. So you have the Social Security card, which Social Security number, we're supposed to not be able to be entered into contract before we're of legal age. But if you notice, the Social Security number is the only contract that we can be entered into by someone else. And when we're entered into that, it's a lifelong contract that we can never get away from. But someone else did it. We didn't do it. We were babies. And so you get this Social Security number and this Social Security card, which is a 9-digit number. Now, this ain't your number. This ain't your number. It is the other part to this security. Because, see, this is on bank paper, but in order for it to be monetized, it needs a digital identifier to couple it, because we're transacting in a digital world. Now, if you have your Social Security number, you're going to see that on the front, it said this number has been established for, and then it has a name underneath it in all capital letters. If you look on the back, it says, this card belongs to the Social Security Administration, and you must return it if we ask for it. If you find a card that is not yours, sorry, I don't have my glasses, please return it to Social Security Administration in Baltimore. Then it says, for any other Social Security business information, contact your Social Security office. If you write to the above address for any business other than returning the found card, you will receive a response. Now, you see that number right there? That red number? It's a letter and then 8 numbers following it. It's called a QSIP. A QSIP, and we'll get back to that. But this number right here, coupled, this is the number for you to publicly transact in the front, okay? That's the public side. This back part is the private side. This, coupled with this, is called a Cestui Trust. CESTUIQUE Trust. Cestui Trust. Which means these two things give the powers that be the ability to create a digitalized format of you and I. to transact on the Sea of Commerce under Admiralty Maritime Law, governed by the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code, which rules the planet. Okay? Contracts, transactions, remember that. Now, stick with me because I'm going somewhere. This is a promise to pay. This is not money. If you look up in Black's Law Dictionary, you will see that the definition of a dollar is a gold or a silver coin. This is a promise to pay. What this means is that there is a dollar of gold or silver somewhere. But this is not backed by anything other than the quote unquote full faith and credit of the citizens of the United States of America. This is a promissory note, and it's issued by the Federal Reserve, which is a private bank. Now, when one of these Social Security numbers are issued, I want to show you this up close. You see that? Let's see. You might can't see it. Trying to show you this. There we go. Okay? That's G and 8 numbers. You see this? That's G and 8 numbers, and then another letter, which specifies there's 12 Federal Reserve jurisdictions. And that letter specifies where this dollar, what jurisdiction this dollar is applicable to. Now, every time a Sedeke trust is created, which is why you have to have a birth certificate in order to get this. You can't just walk up in there without that birth certificate and get this. You have to have a certificate, a birth certificate, to get this. And your parents do it. Our parents do it when we're about 2 weeks old. G and 8 numbers, G and 8 numbers, and then another G. Every time one of these is created, the Social Security, that birth certificate with Social Security, it gives them the ability to print this out of thin air. So every time a baby is born and we take it through this process of the birth certificate and the Social Security number, they're able to print this. Now, these two turn into fiduciary, have fiduciary value. This right here, which is the reason for the birth certificate, for the footprint, the government is able to take a loan out against that child for $650,000 to $1 million, none of which goes to the parents. It goes to them. And then it gives them the ability to trade that digitalized form of you on Wall Street. So although the slave trade did end with physical bodies being traded, it moved from physical bodies being traded on an auction block to physical bodies being collateral for the digital versions that are being traded, put in a pool like mortgages, traded behind hedge funds. And so this gives them the ability to constantly make money off of the digitalized version of you, because that's not you. That's their creation. They recreated you into a digitalized format. So we think that because we see our name on our Social Security card, driver's license, ID, debit cards, and things like that, that's us, but that's not us. We're collateral for that. We're the beneficiary of that Sedeke trust. These are created every time a baby is born and goes through that process. Now, they got a loan against us for $650,000 to $1,000,000. That number belongs to them. It tells you that it was established for the all capital letters name on the front. You don't spell your name in all caps. That's the digitalized version. That's the Sedeke trust. You get to use it. You get to benefit off of it. It's a trust. You're the beneficiary. And they are the trustees of that trust, meaning they govern what you do with that trust. You benefit off of that trust, but they actually own that trust. So as you start growing up and working and things like that, next thing you know, you start paying taxes. Well, you're paying taxes because the Federal Reserve is not a government thing. It's a private bank. So you're paying taxes for the ability to use this, which they've already got $650,000 to $1,000,000 off of you. Now they tax you for using this, tax you for having it. And every time you pass it, it's a contract, a promise to pay. Every time you pass a promise to pay, that means that you haven't technically paid for anything yet. So you're promising to pay in the future at a later date. But then when you start doing the tax thing, and they start sending you these about what you generated, the interest, and the reason why they do that is because they're paying back the loan, interest on the loan that was taken out against you when you were a baby. So the bankers are profiting because you are using their privatized money. They give the government the ability to print these every time a child is born. And this is what the children are what back this. So they depend on your life force, how much you're going to produce over your lifetime, so that they can profit off of you more than that $650,000 to $1,000,000. No matter what direction your life goes in, they've turned you into an asset, chattel property. They have turned you into an asset of the government. Citizenship. We go back to the ships traveling on the Sea of Commerce and Admiralty and Maritime Law. Citizenship. A citizen is enslaved to the one that granted them citizenship. So you're traveling on the Sea of Commerce in a citizenship. Now, the Sedeke Trust, which comprises of now, once you start transacting on another level and you start building credit and you start buying things and you're using your social security number because you think that that's you. But because that's not you, everything that you purchase that's connected to that social security number belongs to them, because that's not your number. That's not you on that driver's license. Your face is on it, but all the rest of that information is the digitalized version. And you are the body or the collateral or the signer or the authorized representative, the beneficiary that's able to use that information. That's not you. That's not you. So when you get a loan, a mortgage, buy a vehicle, get credit cards, you're doing those things and obtaining assets. You're signing promissory notes to get it, first of all. Then you're paying with promises to pay on a monthly basis, which are promises to pay, promissory notes. So you got a promissory note that you enter into when you get this asset. Then you're paying with promissory notes. So you still ain't paid for nothing. It's just floating debt, one debt note to pay another debt note, which is just like taking, I don't know, I want to get a card, so I come in a gift card. So in order for me to buy a gift card, I'm coming in to give a gift card for a gift card. I want to buy a hamburger. So in order for me to get the hamburger, I'm coming in with the hamburger to buy the hamburger. You're using down payment of promises to pay. And then you're entering into this contract that is a promise to pay. The checks we write promise that the money's going to be there when it gets there, but actually it's debt notes, promissory notes on a mortgage, debt notes. Now, the interesting thing about mortgages is this: fractionalized banking. See, when you sign up for a mortgage, the bank that approves you actually got 10 times that amount, and they gave you 1/10 of that. So if you're approved for a $200,000 loan, the bank actually got $2 million from the Federal Reserve, and then gave you 200,000 of that, and then are charging you interest on that 200,000 to pay back the other 90%, or some of the other 90% that they got. But the thing about it is that that wasn't created, that money that they loaned to you wasn't created until you signed that promissory note. So actually, you funded your own loan. They make you think they loaned it to you when actually you gave them the ability to borrow it. And then they give you 10% of it. And then they use the rest, and then they penalize you. So the banks don't have money. They help create it. And when they enter you into a contract, a promise to pay, that's when they're able to actually take that money and then do other things with it. Even your money, when it's in there on deposit, they're doing things with it. They only leave 1/10 of it in the bank because they know we're programmed to not come in there and get all of our money out the bank. So they leave 1/10 of it, and then the rest of it, they're flipping and doing whatever they want to do with it. Now, the interesting thing is that when you go into a bank and you open up an account, they're asking you for 2 forms of ID. But you're the one that's leaving your promissory notes there. So you should be the one asking them for 2 forms of ID, because you don't know these people from Jack Cent. They could shut down tomorrow and all your money, everything that you put in there, be gone. But it's the program, it's the way that we're programmed. This is chattel property. We're treated like slaves because that's how we act. We act like slaves. We don't trust ourselves with our own money. So we take it to a bank and put it in somebody else's possession, and then we use a piece of plastic. That's me and Master P, by the way. I love him. But anyway, we use a piece of plastic to swipe versus having tangible promissory notes in our hand. And another thing is that this dollar is not worth 100 pennies. This is about worth about 4 cents. So for every dollar, if it's worth about 4 cents, that cuts out 96% of the value. Keep that in mind. So why am I saying all this to you? I'm saying this because everything that you think that you have built, that you're worried about losing, if you don't make the moves to take it out of that SEDEK trust, which is that social security number that does not belong to you, and put it into a trust that you create as a flesh and blood being, which is a private contract, they can come and call it back at any time. They can come and get it at any time because it's not you. You're just paying debt notes on it, promising to pay, but you haven't technically paid for anything yet. Another thing is this. We're going to go to the usdebtclock.org and I'm going to show you something. Okay? So the usdebtclock.org is where you will find all the debts and assets and liabilities of this corporation, because this is a corporation. The man in the White House is the CEO of that corporation. You're thinking in terms he's supposed to think about the people. No, he's supposed to run that corporation. That corporation, which has been bankrupt for quite some time, in Chapter 11. So there's reasons why he was positioned there, because he understands bankruptcy law. He hasn't given any tax returns because he ain't generated no money in his Social Security number. You only have to file taxes when you generate money or debt in your Social Security number. That's a whole nother topic. So if you go to the US debt clock, you're going to see on the left-hand side, there's a long red bar that says US national debt. If you go to where debt per taxpayer and you hover over that, you can't do it on your phone, but you can do it on a laptop or on a PC, computer, Mac, whatever. Take the mouse and hover over the titles over the boxes, and then another bubble will come up and explain to you what that means. And so with this, the US debt clock, let's see if you can see it. You see that? Debt per taxpayer. This number right here. It says the debt per taxpayer equals the U.S. national debt divided by the number of U.S. taxpayers. And so on this one, the debt per taxpayer is $190,528. That's per taxpayer. Then right next to it, it says debt per citizen. Okay? Debt per citizen equals the U.S. national debt divided by the number of U.S. citizens. That's $72,979. Now, the citizen is a child, can be anybody, a child. Everybody don't pay taxes. So what they're saying is that $72,979 is what every citizen owes. $190,528 is what every taxpayer owes, is their contribution, their piece of the national debt. Okay? So, in the event that the economy collapses, that's what every citizen would owe, every taxpayer would owe. Which means that assets would be taken, things would be taken back to get the country back on its feet. Because everybody that is transacting behind a Social Security number is responsible for the overall national debt. You follow me? So that's why it's important to the things that we're stewards. And I'm going to keep going back to this. We don't, the illusion of ownership is just what that is, an illusion. We can never own anything here. A digitalized version cannot own something tangible. That's like a cartoon owning something in real life. That digitalized version is not real. You are real. But that number and that person on that identification card or that driver's license is not you. It's the digitalized version. So you think that you're trying to buy things and owning things in this matrix? How can you own it when a fictitious entity is who purchased it? and is making payments on it with debt notes. So the way to get it out of the animated life into the real life is to create your own trust. When you create your own trust, you're able to reconvey that property over into a trust that your flesh and blood being created, and then can't nobody take it from you. I hope this helped you today. There's so much more that I can say, but I have an ebook called How to Unplug from the Matrix. 7 Steps to Getting Off the Grid. If you go to howtounplug.com, it's there. $9.99. If you want to get it, it'll show you, start teaching you how to start shifting from slave-minded transaction over to mastery. It takes you on some of the journey, and then, there's other things that I have in place if you want to continue that journey. If you want me to help you get your trust and stuff in order, holla at me. This is what I do. I've been doing it for over 10 years now. I'm very passionate about it, and I hope that I was able to explain it to you in terms that you can understand. If you have any questions, send me a message. I love you. But that's what you want to think about. You want to think about the fact that you entered your children into chattel slavery, which is why the government is able to tell you what you can and can't do with them, because you're transacting. You enter them into a contract you didn't know, but you entered them into a lifelong contract that they can never shake. It's forever connected to them based on that information that I gave you. This is a trust. I create these. So if over the years you've gotten one of these from me, there's so much to these. I have over 100 trusts. So much to that. But if over the years you've gotten one of those from me, that was me showing you extreme love. You didn't realize what I was doing. But I was putting you in position to not lose everything that you have built and been trying to build in order to pass your generational wealth forward. You have to move it out of your social security number, wills, all that stuff. Private trust is where it's at. Private trust is the only type of account that will make it through a Great Depression, another Great Depression, which they're going to repeat again. So if you have your money in an individual, a bank account that's connected to your social, or as an individual or a business, those are all expendable. If you have over, I don't understand people that put, millions of dollars in the bank and they got it in individual and business accounts. Because if they shut down the economy, you go in the bank, you see that little thing that says FDIC insurance, which that's a joke because I don't see how you can insure a promise to pay. Promissory notes. So they're insuring promises. But they say $250,000. Now, if you got $400,000 in the bank, and mind you, if every dollar is worth 4 cents, you are already way below that, because 96% of your money value is already gone. So if they convert to another currency, you're not going to get dollar for dollar. You're going to get what that dollar is worth versus what the new currency is. Private trusts are for masterminds, people that have determined to take control over their reality, refuse to be slaves, refuse for their children to be slaves, are focused on passing generational wealth forward that can't be intruded upon, intercepted, taken after they've transitioned. So if you want my help with that, I would love to help you. Hit me up, and any messages you have, I'll gladly answer. I love you, and I hope you learned something today. Take care. Bye.